I am a personal mentor. I was or I am in the self-help field since 1992, so I've been doing it for nearly 28, 29 years. My background is civil engineering. I studied civil engineering and then I studied marketing and branding. And I worked for a multinational advertising agency handling clients' accounts. And when the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait took place, my life changed literally overnight. And I found myself in London. I wanted to go to London. I wanted to explore who I was, who I am, what is my real identity. And there was always a sense of calling that I wasn't able to translate for myself or interpret. I just felt this need to go away, to meet with myself, to meet with my reflection in the mirror, to accept who I am, to find myself before I could accept myself. So my journey took me to, I started with the Silva method, which was an amazing course that taught you how to use your mind to solve problems, to tune into situations, to seek guidance. It's a course entirely to do with the mind and how to use it, something that really fascinated me because as a child, I read somewhere that Einstein said that we only use like, I don't know, 2-3% of our brains. And I thought, wow, what is the 96%, the remaining 96% about? So that kind of spurred me on that journey. It was a confusing time for me and I didn't know what to do. So one of my cousins said, why don't you go and see Marin? Marin was a trusted, very well-known psychic on King's Road in London. And I said, what does she do? And she said, she reads the tarot cards. And I said, oh, what are those? So I had absolutely no idea, but I was fascinated by Marin, an absolutely amazing, loving person. And what she said even intrigued me even further. She said, go away, you're blocked, you've been through a trauma, and I can't read for you. Come back again in 3 months and see me then. And I said, why is that? You have the cards. And she said, no, I can only read your future if you know your future, and you're too blocked to know your future. That was enough. That started me off. I thought, wow, we know our future. So how come, everyone else, like, astrologers or whatever, know the future and I don't? So that started me on the journey of self-discovery. I studied the tarot simply because I was intrigued. And I absolutely loved Marin. I saw a woman who was independent, living on her own, completely happy, enjoying her life. She was a designer also on King's Road. So she had a very interesting story. And I thought, that can be my role model for the next few years. So I studied with Marin and I learned a lot of things about a lot of things, about symbology, about numerology, astrology, about healing, about the mind, about the tarot itself, about the esoteric system. We really went through the journey of the tarot. We went through a lot of things. And I was a very good student. So she'd say, go off and do the Silva Mind, then come back. I did. She said, go off and do the Healing Tao, which is a Taoist technique or modality of healing, self-healing, if you like. It's all about energy, how to use it, channel it into your body, connect with the universal energy, etc. I did that. And the journey continued. So I started giving people readings and I was good at it. In fact, I was nominated 3 times as one of the best 100 psychics in the world. Unbeknown to me, I was tested and I was mentioned. And then I was sent a copy of the book. So that was my professional starting point as a professional reader or guide, if you will. The thing is, when you do something like that, you have to walk your talk. You have to walk with integrity. It meant that I had to explore who I am, find my core beliefs, live them or live by them with integrity. Otherwise, whatever was coming out of my mouth did not mean anything. It wasn't soulful, it wasn't authentic, it wasn't genuine. And that developed into taking healing very seriously. And when I lost my brother, it was my mother actually who picked up the phone. I was living in London then, and she said, I think it's time now, you need to do your certificate training program. And I thought, wow. And Munira Nusaybi was teaching that in Jordan. Munira had studied with very well-known famous people in the States. And I thought that she had put the course together in her own way. She suffered a great loss, which spurred her to find why she had to go through that journey and to study what she did. So I thought studying with her would be absolutely amazing because I know her journey, and since she studied with all these people, then she has something to offer me instead of going around and studying with all these people. So we started a 4-year program, and I was trained and graduated as a holistic therapist. Holistic therapy is about using or integrating body, mind, soul. So we are multidimensional being. There's more than one aspect or one side to us. And the course has helped me put all that I've learned in the years before the course into perspective. And this is when the unboxing process really started, because I realized you cannot live your life purpose. You cannot give your gift, because we each have a gift. There's a reason why we're all born. Let me rephrase that. Nothing happens by chance, and there's a reason why we're here. Let me say that. And to express that reason, you have to be you. You have to find the real you. You have to be the authentic you, rather than juggling hats all the time. And then the therapy developed into mentoring. And many of you know what a life coach is. A mentor is different. A life coach is someone who has probably studied life coaching and is certified. A mentor for me is perhaps a step further. It's someone who actually went through the journey themselves. They know the life hacks, the shortcuts. They can oversee your journey, guide you along your own journey. It's not like, okay, let's set up goals for this session and then get them done. It's really, I call myself a personal mentor, in the sense that I can guide your own journey, because I've been there. I've been through the pitfalls. I've been polished because of all the drama and the trauma that I went through in my life. And I got to the point now that I want to share what I do, what I have gained, the wisdom, the growth that has happened to me, the transformation that I went through with other people. So I've helped, or I have worked, or up until recently, I've always worked one-to-one. I believe I must have worked one-to-one, helped more than 14,000 people worldwide. When I was in London, I moved to Dubai about 7 years ago. I had clients come in from Japan, as far as Japan, as Brazil, like literally to have their session with me. The kind of sessions that I gave were about putting people on the right track. They weren't necessarily about the future. My guidance was more on a soul level. What is your life about? What is it that you're trying to express? And what is it that you're not doing that you need to do in order to fulfill that purpose? And to be honest with you, it's my clients that have shaped my own journey, my own growth, because they kept coming back saying, okay, this has happened. How come this hasn't happened? And I started looking into why it hasn't happened. How do we make things happen? Why do things change even though they were predicted? Why do new things happen even though they were not predicted? Which is really what I went through in Kuwait. We had a big corporate party just before the Iraqi invasion, and we had astrologers for fun and whatnot. And none of them predicted the big event that we went through. I'm digressing here a little bit because I want to make a point. Sometimes you go through a difficult time, and you take it personally. You think, this is about me, I'm having a difficult time. But it's not strictly true, because there are personal events, and there are individual events, and then there are not quite global, but there are events that are co-created or that affect everyone else. So we belong to a community, whatever that community may be. You could be in any country or in any background. I'm not physically talking up as a certain community, but I'm saying as the human family, as a collective, we grow. So sometimes you experience something on a personal level, but such as now with the COVID-19. But the reason that we go through it is because the whole humanity is trying to reset or to change, or what we can extract out of it. For me, I got into the habit of not asking, why is this happening? I got into the habit of asking, what is it showing me? And I think when you ask a different question, you begin to be inspired with different answers. Why is this happening implies a victim mentality. And if you see yourself as a victim, you cannot create a future, let alone a bright future. But when you ask, what is it showing me? You're asking as a self-empowered designer of the life that you wish. And therefore you start getting answers on that level. How can I create what I want? What do I need to do? What skills do I need to develop to create the life that I want? So in the last 7 or 8 years, I have strictly worked as a personal mentor. I work online. I help people worldwide through helping them get back on track. Why do they come to me? They come to me because they're stuck, because they tried to do it themselves. They couldn't find anyone to help, or whoever they found, they still experience being stuck. And my specialty, if you like, is I identify why people are stuck, and therefore it becomes a lot easier to put them back on track. The assessment form is designed in such a way that it gives me an idea of where they're stuck. I think any situation, no matter how hard, is a gift. Sometimes we don't see that gift, but it is an opportunity to grow, I don't mean mature, but I mean really grow into a different phase. Mature may be the same thing, let me think about that. But it is an opportunity to exercise, if you like, our knowledge, what we know. It's an opportunity to become better, to become a better version of ourselves. I am a published author and a published poet. I had a syndicated column in England for about 8 years to do with spiritual DIY, i.e. guide yourself by yourself. I studied with different people. I studied with Deepak Chopra. I studied with Caroline Myss. I have studied with Master Mantak Chia. I have studied different modalities of healing. The healing bit was very interesting because it's about the intangible. It's about energy. It's about, what is the relationship between the physical body and the energy, or what is the relationship between who we are, what I call the persona, which is who you are now, and the energy or the consciousness that is beyond who you are as a personality. So I needed to find a way to marry the both, and my way was to find the healing. I completed my life coaching certificate as well. I've studied kinesiology. I studied Western herbs, Eastern medicine. I studied vibrational medicine. I studied the access bars, and I continue to study different things to explore them from a different perspective. And the more that you learn, the more knowledge that you have, the more you expand your horizons, the more you are able to add even further. So when you know more, you begin to understand things in a different way. And then you want to know more. And when you know more, you find that your thinking has expanded, maybe even shifted or changed. All my life, this calling was with me. I think since I was a child, I come from a family of engineers and doctors. And as a British Palestinian, the loss of the homeland had made me feel very ungrounded, uneasy. I didn't know where I belonged. Who am I? What is my purpose? What do I do? But there was a yearning to save people. There was a yearning to provide housing at a cheap level for all these refugees. And this is where the civil engineering came from. Nothing you go through is a waste of time. I don't have any regrets. If I were to rewind my life and go back, I would not change anything, because I can now see how every step led to the next one. And every step also led to the one after. So that the engineering, the logical side, if you will, of the brain gave me the structure. And that allowed me to trust my intuition and to go beyond the tangible. So as a personal mentor, I bring both. When I work with people, and I was working with a client earlier from France, and she said something, and I said no, because I can feel this is not true. This is the issue that you need to face. And she laughed and she said, yes. So you develop that from experience, plus, of course, my intuition. So even if I don't meet you, I would still feel who you are through your assessment. And that's the third reason, perhaps, why I asked you to do it. So I can really provide you with what you're looking for. But I promise you, I'm going to squeeze everything that I can out of you. And if it helps you unbox one thing, if it helps shift your mind, then we have accomplished our purpose. But I wish for you a good journey. I wish for you that you begin to shift your mindset and you begin to see that no matter how dire the situation is, it is always showing you something. It's always uncovering a strength that you thought you never had. I realized when I was young, at an early age, that the way that I've dealt with things was to box them, shelve them in different compartments of my brain. And then I would take that box out whenever I was ready to deal with it. And then when I started my job in the corporate world, we used to have annual reviews. And then one thing that my boss mentioned was that I compartmentalize things. It's a tongue twister. And I thought, that's interesting. And then I realized that it's not just your mind, your belief system, it's how you think. And I was really interested in finding or getting to know to how I think, because I call this the thinking process, because what you know may be correct, but your thinking process, the mechanism at which you arrive at decisions may not be right. If you just open up and you take all the information in, your mind will not reject it, will accept it, and with time, it will naturally integrate it in a way that is useful for you. And recently, I've had really difficult couple of years, the last couple of years. And emotionally, it was a very tough and difficult time. I've lost my beloved husband and I've lost my beloved mom. And for a long time, they were the focus of my life. They were kind of like the two binary star system, and my life orbited around them. And when I lost them totally unexpectedly, I mean, I never really expect to lose anyone. So it's a shock for my system anyway. I've realized I have to build my life. How do I do it? Where do I start from? And this is a running theme that I've always been, not only rebuilding my life, not only surviving, but really thriving. And I've realized, whatever I'm hiding behind, I need to come out and do it. And so the idea of unboxing is to come out, to unbox our limitations so that our real gifts, real talents, real abilities can really show. Because what else are we waiting for? You've got one life and you want to live the best life that you can, in spite of the circumstance, the very limiting and constraining circumstance that we're going through. It started many years ago. I had a very good old friend. Her name was Rana. And we are friends since we were 11 years old. And I always thought that she comes from the same country where I come from. Until about 10 years ago, I've discovered that she doesn't. And then she said something, we were having coffee, and she said something, well, aren't you proud of who you are? Meaning, my nationality. And I said, not particularly. Because if I'm going to be proud of my nationality, if I'm going to be proud of my background, if I'm going to be proud of, soon enough, I'm going to be so proud that there is no room for me to connect with you or with anyone. So I realized that the strength, the self-empowerment that I felt was because I had been systematically taking down the boundaries, taking down whatever identities that I have simultaneously boxed myself in. You hear this expression, I wear many hats, and then, during the day, I change them. Many of you are mothers, and they find it very difficult to keep swapping hats, entrepreneur, a business person, an employee, and then you're a mother, you're a wife, etc. I don't believe in this swapping hat system. I believe that we should be who we are all the time. The roles we play may be different for a finite period of time, but you always play, it's the same actor. You always play these roles from here. And if it is that way, then that helps you to shift between the several identities that you box yourself under. So this is how the kind of idea of unboxing developed. And also many years ago, I don't know, 7 or 10 years ago, I watched a TEDx movie. And it was about this author who found herself stuck under occupation. And she talked about how she boxed everything in order to cope. And then she said, as she started to open up these boxes to find out who she is, she was also in isolation under the occupation. And she found out her gift, and she's written the first book ever that she's written, which became a bestseller. That stuck in my mind. Many years later, up until recently, I thought, oh my God, so what am I going to do now? So I have to come from whatever box that I've boxed myself in, mostly as a mentor or a coach who worked one-on-one. But for now, I just wanted to say that this is how I've boxed myself. And it was a big deal for me this year to unbox all of that and to position myself and to see myself and to identify with myself in a very different way. So we go back to the self. How you're panicking, you're worried about the future. How can you create what you want, the future that you want, if you don't know who you are deep down? If you don't know the real you, if you don't know your authentic identity, whatever you want to call it, there is a part of us that is unique, that is who we are, that is with us all the time, regardless of how we define ourselves throughout our life journey. So when you develop that inner connection with yourself, what happens is something really magical. Life stops being chaotic. You have a deeper connection with your inner guidance, and you begin to create from the inside out rather than putting a lot of effort in attracting what you want to you. So when I've lost my loved ones, I didn't know what to do until a friend said, well, you need help. You need a business mentor. And I said, what? I've never thought of asking for help. So I said, fine, and it wasn't really the intelligent thing to do. I thought that was being strong, try and sort everything out by myself. So I did. I hired this business mentor, and she said, Sahar, how can we distill what you know over the last 29 years? And I'm like, what? How can we do that? So with her help, I've realized that I know so much. I had already started to distill it into a simplified way to help people to do it on their own. I had my own self kind of DIY column of self-development in England for like, I don't know, 8 years or something. And it was called Spiritual DIY, Do It Yourself. It is something that I felt really strongly about, that you don't need to follow a certain philosophy. You don't need to follow a certain person. You need to develop your own unique self. We each have a unique thumbprint. We have a unique voice, a tone, a pitch, a note, perhaps not a pitch, a note. And in the same way, you have a unique journey to fulfill. So how can you solve, improve, grow your own journey according to somebody else's print? I've learned a lot from a lot of people, but in the end, I had to integrate it my own way. I had to integrate it in a way that I felt a deep connection with it. And the result was this Unbox program. And I came up with this name Unbox, which starts for understand your strengths and weaknesses, neutralize chaos, because you want to get back to balance very quickly. B stands for build your next platform. So wherever you find yourself now, you can design the next platform before you jump on it. And O stands for overcome obstacles in your way. And X is the X factor, what I call personal resilience. It also stands for where your vulnerability is, Achilles heel. So if you really want to create the future, a brighter future, you need to recognize your weaknesses as well. You need to face them. You need to work with them. You need to shift your mindset, and then you'd feel really empowered to build, to overcome whatever constraints you may be passing through. The straightforward answer to how you build a better future, or how do you build a deeper connection with yourself, how do you ignite your own guidance, because I really believe we each have our own guiding stars if we were only to tune into it, is through awareness. You just need to observe yourself in a very loving way. When I listen to a lot of my friends, family, even clients, I listen to the words they use, and whatever goes into the subconscious gets there consciously. because you are awake when you say, oh, I'm not good at that, or I'm not as good mother as I think I am, or I'm not really doing in my job, or oh, I can't find it. You know, you're programming yourself all the time. You're programming your unconscious, but you're doing it consciously. And this is why I feel that consciousness does not change without the application of consciousness. So in order to change, to transform from the inside out, to build a deeper connection with yourself, with others around you, with your life purpose, in order to realize, in other words, make real your life, you need to have this deep, authentic connection with yourself, to unbox basically, using the 4 dimensions of change. And what happens is that you ignite your own guiding star, and you will feel self-empowered because you are in touch with your guiding star. You don't need to go anywhere. You just listen in. And the more you practice, the more you get good at it. And what happens is when you're hit by a drama, a trauma, an event, a black swan, something that it is completely out of your hands, you will find out that you will recover very quickly. So you may wobble, but only a little bit, and you will get back on track. You will become more sensitive. This is not a magic bullet. It's not the answer to all your problems, but it is the means that I would like to share with you. And if a little bit goes in, then I'll be very happy as you begin to integrate it and use it in your lives. It took me a long journey, as I said, to kind of be able to express this in a very simple, logical manner that anyone can start at any point, unboxing themselves, releasing their constraints, developing or connecting with their inner power, connecting with their inner guidance, feeling resilient in order to fulfill their purpose in life. So if you spend a lot of time overreacting to things happening in your life, you're not going to live your life. You'll be suffering, you'll be in pain, you know, you'll spiral down, it will take so long, etc., until you come up again and you resume your life. So the big thing about unboxing is you get back on track quickly, recognize your strengths, deal with your vulnerabilities, and you will be able to guide yourself and to act timely and appropriately in any crisis situation. And the more that you do that, the more resilient that you become. And what happens is you feel joyful, you feel at ease, knowing that although I don't know the future, I can deal with what is happening right now.